What is up? Welcome to what is it? The second Minisode we're doing here on the main stand. We
Nerd.
have the logistics all
Yeah,
figured out. We apologize for not having video on the last full episode, but we promise we are going to deliver a seamless video experience on the first ever stadium draft. How are you guys feeling?
I am nervous
nervous.
that it's going to be a seamless video experience.
Yep.
So basically, we'll go over the rules real quick. We're drafting 5 categories today, and we each need to have one stadium in each of these categories. The categories are as follows: one stadium that's over 100 years old, one that is new. By new, we mean built within the last 5 years, one non European stadium, one worst stadium, and one stadium with the best atmosphere. You have to have one from each of those categories. Um, and yeah, we're going to go in a random order. So I have a randomizer here pulled up already. We'll just 3 people, snake draft probably is kind of stupid. So are you guys opposed to just doing the same order every round?
Nope.
Yeah, let's do it. We can just randomize like the
Cool,
initial
cool.
order.
Yep. So I have a randomizer pulled up. I've already shuffled 3 times, and then I'll do it this last time here. The order is Josh, Pat, and Mitch.
Knew it. Knew it. I was going last.
So I will go ahead and kick things off. Are we ready to go? Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So this is tough because this isn't like I know I have the 1-1 pick. I have the first pick, so I theoretically should have the best one. And I'm looking at some of the thinner stadiums here, or thinner stadium categories, I might say. I think the thinnest one is going to be the ones that are over 100 years old. So I'm taking Anfield off the board, number
Wow.
one. I'm taking that under over 100 years. I think it probably could have been best atmosphere as well, but I think that category is a little bit deeper. Obviously, I've been to Anfield as a Liverpool fan. It holds a special place in my heart. I think every soccer fan should go there at some point in their life. You know, here you'll never walk alone, see the cop. Everything there is to do in Liverpool and at Anfield, you should do as a soccer fan. But yeah, I'm taking it off the board 1-1.
Hey,
Thoughts, Mitch?
Josh. It must be fucking nice that you've been able to go to Anfield and
Yo-
sing the songs and smell it.
I'm giving the listeners the personal experience. You got to give them the
Fucking
vibes.
mad. I'm mad about it.
Were you gonna take Anfield under best atmosphere?
I was thinking about it. But that's not happening anymore. So
Nope, it's not. And I'm also going. So for my pick, I'm next. I'm going to jump into atmosphere because this stadium is on my bucket list for places I want to visit before I die, and that is the Signa Iduna Park that
Ah,
Borussia Dortmund is at. The yellow wall is iconic in the world of football. That stadium full of people, you can feel it like through the television. You know, just like sitting on the couch. The atmosphere that those fans create is second to none, and the tifos that put up are just insane. The stadium is always rocking. And on my football bucket list, this stadium is well, technically it's number two because I've never been to the Etihad, but it is. If I got the opportunity to go to it, I would jump at it at no matter what other existing things were going on in my life. If I had the opportunity to go see a Dortmund game live with fans, I am there.
I respect it.
coincidentally, another stadium that does "You'll Never Walk Alone."
The more you
Don't
Coincidence.
really care.
So with my pick, I don't know what I want to waste right now. You know what? I'll also go with my best atmosphere, and I have a story behind it. So we have a family friend who married somebody who lives right down the street, grew up down the street from this stadium, And the stories I've heard, the sights, the sounds, the smells, the pictures I've seen, and her personal accounts of it, I think my best atmosphere I would probably have to give to the Bernabeu, because it's before I fell in love with soccer. The first game I ever watched was an El Clasico that Real Madrid won, so I had already had that personal connection of, okay, I've seen Real Madrid, I understand it, they won. We have players like David Beckham, we have players like Cristiano Ronaldo, and I just feel like going to a Real Madrid game and growing up down the street and being able to hear those stories and experience those things your whole life, she sold me on that for sure. So I'll knock them off with my best atmosphere.
That's a good one. I actually did not have that or the other big Spanish stadium, no spoilers, on my big board. That is a good one.
No spoilers whatsoever.
What other big Spanish stadium could Josh be talking about, ladies and
The Wanda.
He's barred from entry.
Probably. So we're going to wrap around back to me in the second round. I'm going to go non-European. And I'm going to take arguably the best stadium in the world. I'm going to take the Maracana in Rio. That's a tough one to beat. I mean, World Cup finals there. Just every single event you could ever imagine. 100,000 people. I think their biggest capacity was 100 and something thousand. I'd have to look it up, but yeah, just a class stadium, and I think one that everyone kind of has a memory there, whether it's the 2014 World Cup or something else. I mean, they had World Cups there back in the 70s as well, so just an iconic stadium and one that is kind of synonymous with Rio and Brazil.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely incredible stadium. You just, I don't know, the Brazilian national team as a whole has always just been one of the more iconic national teams, especially in our generation, and I mean just every generation in general. And a stadium, so closely attached to them that just, insane. The history.
Yeah, and Flamengo, Fluminense have that kind of sharing thing where they kind of both use it, and that's always pretty cool environment. But
yeah, my next stadium is also a shared stadium. I will be going for my 100-year-old stadium, and I'm taking the San Siro.
It's a good one.
The amount of history in that stadium is absurd. Arguably the most iconic football picture of all time taken in that stadium. The Inter and the AC Milan player, I don't remember the names off the top of my head, standing in front of the flares in that Milan derby. The history in that building is unmatched, and two clubs there are so storied, and just amount of history that just lives in that stadium is insane. And that is just another stadium that, if you're a football fan, it should be on your bucket list. If you ever get to just go to Europe, it should be there to go see.
Yeah, those spirals on the San Siro are just you see them and you automatically know what it is.
Yeah.
So absolutely. With my second pick in the inaugural stadium draft, I think I'm gonna go with my worst. Go with my worst. And we've talked about it before on the pod. And it's actually a place that I've been able to visit. It's Gillette Stadium.
I think that was one everyone had. It was everyone's 1-1 for worst.
It has been the home to the New England Revolution since it was built. It is absolutely piss poor for football matches because it is so hard to feel like you're a part of something when you're sitting in a 65,000 seat arena that only caps out at 30K, 20K. It feels empty, feels bare. And I really hope that with the success that the Revs have found the last few years, the excitement of some new players. I really hope that New England and the Kraft family can respect the club enough to give them a home of their own. So next time we do this, we can touch on the new New England Revolution home under new stadiums.
They need to win the thing so Robert Kraft feels more incentivized to really try and break ground and get them a stadium because it's just hell.
It's not going to happen when Mr. Johnson from New York decides to stand on his head in penalties. So
turf too, which is an automatic veto.
Yeah, it's awful.
With my next one, I'm going to stay in South America. So my last pick was the Americana. I'm staying in South America. I'm going to take best atmosphere here. And I'm going to go La Bombonera, the home of Boca Juniors. The photos you get out of La Bombonera are just fucking unreal. The blue and yellow streamers hanging down from the top levels. Yep. That's one you want to go to, but you don't even know if you can go to it because it's so fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's I would love to go see the derby between Boca Juniors and River Plate as a complete neutral wearing colors that cannot be associated with either club and sit directly in the middle, so none of the ultras are anywhere near me.
But I was gonna go in a T-Rex costume.
Yeah, that was an easy pick for me for best atmosphere. Now we've all picked a best atmosphere. I thought this was the deepest category. Just to give a couple other ones that I had on my board as honorable mentions here. The Stade Velodrome in Marseille would have been a good one. Turk Telecom Arena, which is Galatasaray. Racho Midic Stadium, Red Star, and the Karaskaki Stadium, Olympiacos, all would have been good shouts.
Another shout, Celtic Park. Celtic Park gets fucking crazy at games. I mean, I don't think there's a single person in that stadium that is not singing, not jumping up and down, doesn't know every word to every song that is being sung, and it just looks like a phenomenal place to go watch a football match.
I believe, Pat, are you up next?
I am. And I will be... this is a tough one. I kind of want to get this is a tough one. So I have a couple I'm looking at worst, and I'm looking at non-European, because I have a cool non-European one that I kind of want to talk about, but I also really, really want to do my worst, because I want to bitch about this place too. Let's see. I don't think anyone's going to take my worst. I'm going to do it. Worst stadium is fucking Yankee Stadium.
Fuck, that was my other one.
Those fucking crisscross. Well, the MLS is just a fucking shambles for good football pitches. You got the dedicated fields and shit like that are generally very good for a lot of these teams. Like FC Cincinnati has a really cool stadium for a new club. You've got wherever Minnesota United play. Completely forgot the name. I'm really sorry, Josh. And those are dedicated football grounds. Great. They house the perfect amount of people, and they're made for soccer. Yankee Stadium, you have part of the field that just has fake grass over the dirt of the infield of the baseball stadium.
Yeah, it's tough.
Fucking terrible. It just feels like a baseball field, and it's not. You don't feel connected to the game. Terrible stadium. Just give teams dedicated places, especially New York City FC. They're part of City Football Group. How the fuck don't they have their own stadium?
Because I feel like there isn't a lot of place in New York to do that. It would end up being a New Jersey team at that point.
That's fair.
The New York Red Bulls. New York Red Bulls.
Madison Square Garden just put a turf pitch down.
I actually, so in line with that, I was gonna consider taking Fenway Park for my oldest because they do host soccer games now, allegedly. But Fenway Park equally up there, if not worse than Yankee Stadium, because of the sight lines, because of the angle of the pitch that it needs to go on the field. It is the smallest size it can possibly be. Just like Yankee Stadium, we had that conversation going into the Rebs New York City match. But I will stay away from that. I'm going to go with my oldest stadium because also Fenway Park opened the same day or the same year that Titanic sank. But for my oldest, I'm going to go with Stamford Bridge.
That's a good one.
Having a Chelsea fan as a friend, it's a place that I want to go and experience with them. I want to be able to see a club and a field and a stadium that's been standing since 1877. Growing up in New England and going to Fenway Park, having that relationship with an oldie but a goodie, I can understand that. So I would love to go see a game at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I think that's probably one of the other ones that's older than 100 years that really stands out. The other one, I think we've all given our oldest now. St. James Park in England would have been a good one too.
Grandma.
I had Stadio Olimpico as well.
You had the Stadio Olimpico, Pat?
Yeah.
And then Ewood Park.
Yeah, that's a good
Ewood
one.
Park
That's a good shout too.
Sick stadium to go. Blackburn's fans are wild as well.
Yeah. I think the Stadio Olimpico would be cool. Another one of those like Italian shared stadiums. But yeah, very, very cool. Also where the Italian national team goes and plays all their games. So
I was gonna do another pick, but I'm gonna segue right into this one with my fourth one. My worst stadium has been on my notes. It was the only other option I had besides Gillette and Yankee Stadium. I'm taking the Stadio Olimpico as the worst stadium in my opinion. It's a concrete fucking bowl that you sit 100 yards from, has a track around it, which is an automatic deduction of points from me. And Liverpool's played there, and I hadn't heard anything good from the Liverpool fans about that stadium. Besides, I mean, it literally is just a concrete fucking bowl, no acoustics, no, I don't know, just actually stadium-wise, I don't think it's that good. In terms of atmosphere, it might be decent, but...
It was on my list.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's the only one I've been to, so it's on my list.
Fair enough. I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot on the board aside from the two MLS ones, so I think this is the one that stands out to me in Europe. A lot of the other old ones have like character. Like you could take Goodison, but Goodison has like history and shit, so it's kind of like a backhanded pick. But
yeah,
we've all picked our worst now at this point, right?
Yep.
Couple other shouts. Bosdovac Stadium. It is a tiny ass stadium. Seats 5,175, and it is built on top of a fucking shopping mall.
That's
in order
wild.
to get into the stadium, you have to go through the mall.
I don't know if you guys knew this. Selhurst Park.
Selhurst was also on my list. That was the next one I was gonna say.
I had Selhurst on my list for best atmosphere. Selhurst probably is one of the worst. It has a grocery store in it, which is pretty fucking garbage.
Selhurst, absolute joke. And then I had just architecturally ugly as fuck. South African Stadium, Mbatho. It looks like the architect literally just took these giant squares and layered them on top of each other and created this diamond of diamonds. And it looks god awful. I'm so sorry if you actually like the look of that stadium. Couldn't do it. And to be in that part of the world in South Africa and have no shade. There's no shade anywhere in that part.
Brutal.
Ooh, that's tough. My only other worst stadium I had on here was my Winthrop, the soccer field in Winthrop.
That would have been a good pick.
Which one? Are we talking about the middle school field?
Whichever one we want to talk about, the one that's half of a baseball field or the one that gets used as a football field when people aren't playing soccer on it, so it's obliterated from metal cleats in the mud. Either way, two terrible fields. So
that would have been a very good pick, Pat.
I mean, we were supposed to be called Lakeville when the town was forming. History lesson for you, because we have the most per capita ponds and lakes in our area. So we're pretty much just like on a lake, no matter where we are. So it's very difficult to get level, solid land. The fields that Pat is referencing are horrendous. Like
they're literally hell.
Rolled ankles, rocks, you name it. Terrible fields.
Fucking awful. They're worse than anything I've ever played on. But yeah, those are the honorable mentions for the worst fucking stadiums out there. And I'll tuck right into my next pick. I will go non-European, and I'm actually going to stay in America for this one because I think this is just a really cool stadium to talk about and a really cool thing that America actually has going for it. I'm taking the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, and I'm taking it because not only do they have one of the highest average attendances in the world, they create a phenomenal atmosphere in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I just think it's crazy that there is this city that has this stadium in America that is it feels like soccer, and the city is really involved with it, and they love it. And I just wanted to highlight it because I think it's the most important from a growing this sport aspect in the country to talk about that we have this place that is so well attended and it gets filled, and people in the States just really create this phenomenal atmosphere for this great stadium. And you know, it's right here in a part of the world that isn't commonly associated with the sport.
That's a good shout. That one was not one I was expecting at all.
So, to stick with the non-European vibes, I'm also taking an MLS stadium.
Whoa.
And I'm taking Audi Field. I think with my relationship with Audi Field, so when I was in college, I went to DC for this big sports business conference, and I was actually able to talk with the architect of Audi Field because there was a lot of front office and sales staff from DC United at the conference. So at one of the roundtables, I was able to talk with him and see what his vision of it was before it was built. And now to be able to see DC United in that stadium and seeing that vision played out is something that's so cool to me that I was able to kind of be a part of behind the scenes and have conversation with the man who designed it, and the staff that are getting to work there day in and day out. It holds a little special place in my heart.
That's a good story, and you didn't pander to the crowd, bitch. You took something personal, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Fuck the crowd.
So, okay, some big ones that were left off, though. One huge one, the Azteca.
Yes.
I had that too.
That was on my list.
But I wanted to talk about America for a little bit.
Fair enough. The Monumental, where River Plate plays as well, and the Rose Bowl could have been another one. I believe, is that where the U.S. women won a World Cup? I might be wrong on that, but I believe the Rose Bowl has had some big games.
Yeah, the LA Coliseum, right?
I had the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I also had the Monumental, as those are my three picks for non-European.
So I think the only category we all have left is new. There's a clear one to me as a pick, but I do think it would be great on the graphic for me. I do think I'm going to stick with a personal pick, though, and I'm going to take the Allianz Field in St. Paul. Stadium I've got to frequent this summer. Was never a big MLS fan, and I have absolutely fell in love with that club. It embodies everything I think Minneapolis and St. Paul is, especially from an atmosphere fan perspective. It's just a great place. The Wonderwall is kind of became synonymous with the MLS and Minnesota United, and I think it's just a stadium everyone should get a chance to visit. Like Pat said before, Mitch, It's small enough where it's just packed every single game, and that creates an atmosphere that's pretty hard to replicate here in America. So that's my choice.
Yes, and you know what? I'll see you out there next year, Josh.
Yes, sir.
It'll happen. We'll make it happen.
We need to make it happen. Main stand.
My new stadium. I'm going to take a stadium that opened in 2020. I'm going to take the Brentford Community Stadium.
That was on my list.
I dig it.
I think the atmosphere that they create in that stadium is phenomenal. I think it's a really well-designed stadium, and I think it is perfect for a club like Brentford. You think back to the first game of the league season when Brentford beat Arsenal. That's all I have to say. So listen to that stadium. That's all I have to say. They're phenomenal.
That's a really good pick. I had that on my list. I think that was my second choice. Or third. But no spoilers.
For my new stadium, I have one that we haven't really seen the best of. Al Janoub finished being built in 2019. Making updates to it as we speak for the World Cup coming up in Qatar. I just picked it honestly because it looks like the underside of a giant humpback whale, and I really like it. But at night when the lights are coming down, you can see the light radiating out through the facility. So just the views, the pure picturesque views of this stadium is why I picked it. And we're going to be able to experience that this upcoming year.
That's a good one. I think the big one we're leaving off the board here. We're probably going to hear fucking hate mail from Austin Farwell, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
You know what? I don't care. I don't care.
It's a very nice stadium, I will say. The other two in the MLS were Austin FC and Inter Miami, both with new stadiums, both very aesthetically pleasing to look at.
Yeah, I had the Q2 on my list because it was inaugurated with a U.S. women's national team game, and it is a gorgeous stadium.
Yeah, they have some nice tifos too. So credit.
Yes,
for that.
they do.
And also the new Wembley Stadium.
Ooh, yeah.
New Wembley, sick.
And then another one that is 6 years old, not 5 years old, but fuck off, is the London Stadium.
Is that only 6 years old?
Pretty sure it opened in 2015 or 2016.
Wow, that's not a bad one either. I know there's some we left off the board. Obviously, with 3 people, you can only draft so many stadiums. But
it's 2012. It's 10 years old.
Is it really?
Wasn't it open for the Olympics before?
Open May 5th, 2012.
I'm pretty sure that's where Bolt broke the record for the 100 meters.
Did Google lie to me when I was doing my research?
It might have. Very well might have.
My research.
That was a pretty good draft, boys. I'll run through them one more time for the audience. I had Anfield, the Maracana, La Bombonera, Stadio Olimpico, and Allianz Field. Pat had Signal Iduna Park, the San Siro, Yankee Stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and the Brentford Community Stadium. Mitch had the Bernabeu, Gillette Stadium, Stamford Bridge, Audi Field, and Al Janoub in Qatar. Good draft, boys. We'll see what the fans think. Who had the best draft?
Let us know. Let us know who we left off that should have been on there, even if we didn't bring them up, or if you agree with any of our picks. This was a fun little mini episode. I wasn't sure what to expect, considering, I've only been to 2 football stadiums that aren't actually football stadiums. And I want to go on a stadium tour one of these days. I want to go across the pond, and I want to visit as many parks as I possibly can.
Maybe we'll start a Patreon, and enough people will get on it that we can go ground hopping.
Yeah, let's start a GoFundMe for Mitch so he can go to Europe.
No, more of you just need to tell your friends about the podcast and make sure they at least listen to Josh's wonderful read about Anchor at the start of every episode. Monetize the pod and go across the pond.
Monetizing it, baby.
We're monetizing it, baby. We need another fucking sponsorship. Hit the DMs if you want to do a collab.
Yeah,
as the kids say.
Anything, I'll add reads to anything. What you got? No, I'm not going to make that joke, but yeah. Thanks for tuning in. This was fun. It was a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let us know on the socials any stadiums we missed, some of your favorite stadiums, some of your least favorite stadiums too. I would love to hear, grounds you think around Europe that are fucking shit. This was the Main Stand, Minisode number 3. Peace out.
Deuces.
Peace.